Nobody fails better than Nintendo. If something doesn't work, they go back to the drawing board and keep at it. And the Game Boy systems were their playground. A decades-long iron grip on the portable gaming market meant they got to go wild with experimentation. And today, I'm gonna dip my toe into the world of crazy Game Boy motion-controlled cartridges. Nintendo was planting the seeds of ideas that would later be used for the Wii as early as the Game Boy Color, with cartridges with built-in motion sensors. But like, these carts must have been expensive to manufacture, and more often than not, they were just like teetering on the brink of self-justification. Good ideas don't always make good games. In this case, the devil is in the details. Welcome to Punching Weight, where we celebrate the weird, ambitious, and unnecessary. And in this episode, it's motion for the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance. It's motion controls. It's moving the system, moving on. Our first game is one of the more well-known we'll be talking about, and also just plain odd. Tilt and Tumble is a top-down platformer where you control Kirby by tilting the system and rolling our little pink buddy across 8 varied and challenging worlds. It'll have you jump in clouds, dodging bumpers, navigating hills. There's a lot going on in this game. And the tilt controls alone set it apart from almost every game released on the Game Boy Color, but it's also a bit of a weird game in the context of its release. It came out in North America in 2001, just a couple months before the Game Boy Advance, so it's a little late to the party. As you can see, it has a super cute pink cartridge that's a little bulkier than a standard Game Boy Color case to make room for the gyro accelerometer, but also there's this weird notch in the corner. Now, is this the only Game Boy Color only cart that can physically fit into an OG brick Game Boy? Now, usually, clear Game Boy Color only cases have full round tops and can't physically fit into an original Game Boy. But not Kirby here. Kirby's special. Why are you so special, Kirby? On paper, this concept is awesome. Tilting the system to control Kirby is super charming and the perfect spin-off for the Pink Puff. But in actual execution, it comes up pretty short. It's a demanding game that's a victim of the Game Boy Color's lack of a backlight. So it's already difficult to see, but constantly tilting the system makes it super easy to lose track of Kirby. And when you flick the system up to make Kirby jump, dude, forget about it. A worm light helps a bit here, but really, Kirby Tilt and Tumble is like reason 1001 why I need to get myself a modded, backlit, wide model GBA. But in the meantime, I tried playing it on the SP. This game was made well before the SP, so while it gives you a clearer picture with the backlight, because the cart slots from the bottom, your movements are flipped, meaning you have to play the game backwards, and there's no way to recalibrate the tilt function. The pros, and I'm nothing if not professional, use a GameCube GBA player and physically hold the system and do A pushes with a dance pad. Well, I don't have a dance pad, but I do have Donkey Konga's, damn it. It's both a genuinely good way to play this game and one of the dumbest ways to play any game. My kind of thing. Ultimately, though, Kirby Tilt and Tumble is a rough example of what Nintendo would later be able to do with motion. And how fitting is that? Because it turns out the best way to play this game is on a Wiimote. That's right. While manhandling a GameCube is fun for a goof, hands down the best way to play this game is with a Wiimote via emulation. You can see what you're doing, movement is much better, and, at least on my ROM, Wiimote compatibility was already patched in. It was an early use of motion control technology, though, and while it's not my favorite, I'm glad that the best way to play it is relatively accessible. Okay, the best way that I can test. I don't have an Android, and I'm just too much of a casual to get emulation working on my smartphone, but hackers, I've heard good things. Unfortunately, Tilt and Tumble never made it outside of Japan and North America, and is one of the few classic Kirby games that has never been re-released. There was a GameCube sequel for it showcased at Nintendo Space World 2001 that would have used the link cable. Look at that! How crazy is that? Okay, let me break this footage down for you. That is Shigeru Miyamoto controlling the game with the accelerometer in a pink Tilt and Tumble cartridge, meaning that this game would have needed a GameCube, a link cable, an original Game Boy Advance, and a Game Boy Color game just to play it? Okay, they probably would have released a special GBA cartridge, but still, this was apparently a step too far for even Nintendo. Tilt and Tumble 2 was demoted from being a Kirby game the following year, renamed Roll-O-Rama, before being cancelled altogether. It's weird that this GameCube sequel didn't just go full Super Monkey Ball, or maybe because of Monkey Ball, Nintendo got cold feet? Still, it blows my mind that Tilt and Tumble has never been re-released despite the fact Nintendo has since released multiple motion-controlled systems. But Kirby actually wasn't the only Tilt cartridge to come out for the Game Boy Color. There's also Enix's Japan-only Command Master, which is obscure enough that it doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. Released a few months after Tilt and Tumble in Japan, the game itself is a robot-style take on the Pokemon franchise, a genre I like to call the Robochew. Seriously, Pokemon came out and more than just a few people all simultaneously thought, robots! But Command Master's Tilt is way more simplistic than Tilt and Tumbles. In this game, it's used as part of a rhythm game in battle sequences to transform your robot, or you into a robot? Honestly, the same could have been accomplished by just using the D-pad, but I guess they were leaning on the novelty of the tilt sensor to help it stand out from the glut of other Pokemon-style games already available. I wish I could tell you more about this game, but I wasn't able to get past the tutorial section, which I kept failing despite having perfect rhythm. There isn't a lot of information about this game online. The only thing we could find were people also getting stuck at this part.
I can't transform!
Near as we can tell, there's no fan translation, and my Japanese definitely ain't what it used to be, so if anyone out there wants to champion Command Master for the Game Boy Color, I'd at least appreciate it. It's the only other Game Boy Color game with tilt controls, and as far as I know, the only motion-controlled Game Boy game not developed or published by Nintendo. More information about this game needs to be available. Maybe we're all sleeping on an underrated classic.
Probably not.
Well, not with that attitude. The next Game Boy game to have motion controls was this time on the Game Boy Advance. Koro Koro Puzzle Happy Panichu is a first-party Nintendo puzzler that, as you might be able to guess from the title that's almost a parody of itself, was only released in Japan. It's a pretty simple match 3 puzzle game where you slide your little Panichu by tilting the system. Connecting 3 or more bombs allows you to detonate and clear more Panichu, though I'm not sure that makes them as happy. We don't actually have this cartridge, but it works great with Wiimote emulation. It's a neat, but maybe too simple a use of motion controls. On the one hand, there's no nuance, just one tilt sends everyone sliding, but it's nothing you couldn't do on a D-pad. It did make the cartridge bigger than your typical GBA cart, though. It's a fun novelty and great proof of concept for Nintendo, but I don't think the rest of the world was really missing out on too much here. There wouldn't be any motion games for a few more years. Well, there almost was one, but we'll talk about that later. Yoshi's Topsy-Turvy came out in Japan in 2004 and in North America in 2005. And here's a motion-controlled Game Boy game that the EU finally got, known there as Yoshi's Universal Gravitation. Developed by Artoon, who would go on to make Yoshi's Island DS, and Vampire Rain, Topsy-Turvy is classic-looking Yoshi's Island, this time a charming pop-up book aesthetic. So, like Kirby Tilt and Tumble, it's exactly the type of spin-off you'd expect. However, it's a much simpler approach to motion controls, requiring you to only rotate the system left or right 90 degrees. With this tilt functionality, you can roll out carpet or cardboard, run up walls, slide up and down ice half-pipes, float as a balloon, aim cannons, etc. It even has the option to flip the sensor orientation so it's fully compatible with the SP, finally! Unfortunately, it just doesn't work all that well. The problem comes from not being able to center yourself in mid-air, which affects how you fall. Like, a simple jump can be hard to land if you're tilting too much in the other direction. It's a platforming game where the platforming just doesn't feel right. And levels feel short and are segmented off into small chunks instead of feeling like fully formed, memorable levels. And also, you don't throw eggs. Yoshi doesn't have eggs in this game. Seems like that's what you used the damn tilt for in the first place. Right? Forget Topsy-Turvy, this should have been called Yoshi's Sharpshooter, or Yoshi Pool Hustler, like his billiard spin-off, I don't know. Really, I'm a little harsh on Topsy-Turvy, mainly because there was another game released around the same time that took the same tilt technology to incredible heights. The penultimate juggernaut of all these carts, 2005's WarioWare Twisted. What an absolute unit. Just look at this beefy boy right here. Not only does the tilt tech feel much better here, it's also packed with rumble feedback, all without the need for an external battery. Topsy-Turvy is a nice proof of concept, but Twisted is the real deal. Even beyond that, this is a damn good WarioWare game in its own right, and it's actually the second biggest collection of minigames in the series. It's full stop the best implementation of motion from this era, and what can you say about the WarioWare games? There's a lot of them, they're basically all good, and this is another one.
You turn it turns you. It's Twisted.
A question. Can you play this game with a GameCube and a pair of Donkey Kongas? Yes. Should you? No. Would it theoretically improve your form if you were, say, a drummer in a metal band? Yeah, probably. Do I know anything about that? No! And that's why I almost threw my back out playing this game. Remember, properly stretch before and after attempting to manhandle WarioWare Twisted on your GameCube. Or maybe just don't attempt while being old. A recurring theme we have noticed is a lack of Virtual Console re-release love, plus getting these games working on emulation may require some extra patching. Such is the case for WarioWare Twisted. Both this and Yoshi got DS sequels around the exact same time, and those have both gotten more re-release love. Though Twisted did kind of get remade in 2018's WarioWare Gold for the 3DS, but I don't know if a lot of people would say that's a solid substitute. Apparently, it's fantastic on a smartphone. Still, as either a motion-controlled oddity, a super weird cart, or just another fine WarioWare game, Twisted is one hell of a title. When you look at the implementation of motion controls, it's been pretty mixed, which is kind of surprising, and Nintendo's usually on their stuff. It makes you wonder, what if the kings of second-party Nintendo development, Rare, got a crack at it? Well, it turns out they actually almost did. 2005's Banjo Pilot was actually not always intended to star Banjo. Before Nintendo and Rare's messy breakup and Rare's subsequent shacking up with Microsoft, this game was actually intended to be a sequel to the N64's Diddy Kong Racing. Not only that, it was planned to have motion controls and was even showcased at Space World 2001. Thanks to some heroes, we have access to a couple of prototypes, one of them being from 2001 that includes motion controls, or at least it has the option for motion controls. When I started them on our Wii, I wasn't able to control the plane, not even with the D-pad, so it's possible this just needs a patch, like WarioWare Twisted. But at the same time, this is a prototype. It's hard to say if the motion controls worked that well or at all. They were actually taken out of the game in later builds because Nintendo wasn't satisfied. They were apparently removed altogether before Microsoft bought Rare. So, as far as I know, no one has ever played Diddy Kong Pilot with the motion controls at home. And I want that to happen so bad. There's actually one more motion-controlled game that we didn't cover for this video, Tony Hawk Motion for the DS, and we're holding on to that for a different video because I want to do a video about the secrets of the GBA slot in the DS. I got a couple ideas cooking. I think that's going to be a really fun video. Also, huge shout out to our Patreon supporters, CDI Games in their Discord.
Well, this is the Patreon ending.
This is the Patreon, oh yeah, by the way, this is the Patreon ending. Shout out to CDI Games. He was they were the very generous supporter who donated their games to us. Well, they lent them. We're gonna give them back.
They trusted us with them, which we really appreciate.
We also have, we're gonna do Drill Dozer and Boktai soon. Also, you got some, we're gonna do a follow-up video of also the other games that they other weird cartridges. And then I'm really excited about this DS video. Yeah. Because also in the Discord, a couple people were talking about stuff. And I learned stuff from them, found a couple other things, so that's a video I'm really excited about. We're letting you know about it in this ending here. And hey, thanks again as always. I guess if you want to lend us something or donate stuff, hey,
oh my gosh,
let us know.
I mean, it's true. There's actually been a few videos that we've done this year that I really thought were great that we're only able to do because people were so generous with us. Yeah, no, it's always appreciate the generosity. I'm sure maybe you might get tired of us saying how much we appreciate it, but hopefully you get tired of us saying it because we say it so much and we really mean it. But I think it's going to do it for now. I will see you again real soon. Take care, everybody. Bye.